Assalamu alaikum. This is Pasha, the author of The Double Cross. On at least 4 of my last sessions with you, I have spoken on the house nigger and how he or she is a chancellor among our race. Now let me explain to you the artificial creation of the house nigger. Whites have very carefully grafted the idea that to be an American is to be white. This combined with all the signs they put up made it crystal clear. White only. Do you remember them? Leave your language, culture, heritage, style of dress, all behind. One of the key tools used to get us to do this was the tell, lie, vision in movies. But the biggest psychological trap was given to us as young children and was recited first thing every morning. And that was the Pledge of Allegiance. Now ask yourself, with all the things you need to learn as a child, ABCs, learning to read and write, math, how to tie your shoes, etc., why would learning to say, I pledge allegiance to the United States of America be first? Do you see what they've done? As a young child, we were not understanding the psychological program, the trap, the programming of our subconscious to respond in a prefabricated way once stimulated. We learn by repetition, doing the same thing over and over, as well as saying them. Mentally, we have been made a part of the United States by virtue of indoctrination, then beaten, punished, and killed for reaching for that which was deeply implanted into us. And just so you know, slaves and ex-slaves are not citizens of the United States. They are property. Read your Constitution. A weak man supports destruction in every way, even with the destruction of the minds of the children, in order to demonstrate his power. And we already know how much white men enjoy fucking children or fucking over them. A weak man, as a species, can only appear strong with the destruction of all others gifted with real strength. And so we battle and battle, throwing spears while he has automatic firepower, throwing divine knowledge while he hurls one lie after another, throwing our sacrificial bodies at his clubs, his attack dogs, and his water hoses, while he groups up, then fortifies himself to repulse our sacrifice again and again. As a nation, what we must learn is that to show friendliness towards a savage, hungry beast does not excite its compassion, nor its own friendliness towards us. It excites its hunger for more and more. Everyone and everything has to die. Everyone has to be consumed in order to satisfy this hunger of the savage beast. And if you don't see him as a beast, clearly you have not studied your scripture, your history, nor the video footage of all the beastly things he has done to us in order to project himself as superior at all costs. At all costs to us and to the 100 million Native Americans he murdered here after his arrival, and to the thousands of black tribes on the motherland he totally wiped out that do not exist anymore, and to the Inca and Aztecs and the Mayans he decimated to show how uncivilized he was and his willingness to destroy all he sees, and to the millions of Aborigines he murdered in Australia before taking over their country, because he said the Aborigines had no soul. He made that decision. The weak man said it. And yet we still listen to him. His house niggas hear every word he says. His pledge of allegiance to the United States runs deep, and he has made him blind to all that he sees. To the contrary, the white man created as God an image of himself, then turned around and compelled the world to worship the blonde-haired, blue-eyed version of what he envisioned as the God of us all. Both he and Hitler. Doing so is like a dog licking his own ass. Both lack the intelligence and the mental capability to govern themselves. So everything has to die. Destroy the ozone layer, poison the rivers and streams, pollute the oceans, cut down the forests, kill all the lions, tigers, and bears, release Ebola as a biological weapon along with COVID worldwide. Yes. And who corrupted the banking system? Who inflates the cost of living, the price of gas, the cost of an egg? Who destabilizes black, brown, red, and yellow governments around the globe? Who places a good education beyond the reach of the have-nots? Who facilitates homelessness of entire families, then creates red tape to prevent them from rapid response? Who made Lady Liberty blind to justice for anyone not white? Who turns society into one filled with junkies and alcoholics and the hopeless? Who then uses their despair to make them weak and self-destructive? Who then at the last minute throws them a lifeline, a promise to lift them up if they believe in him, if they would only follow him, if they would pledge their allegiance to him? And there you have it. The making of the house, nigga. Like I said, it's a process. Again, wisdom lies not in seeing things, but in seeing through things. This is the double cross. Another issue for our nation is that for some reason, only small pockets of us wake up at one time, while our majority sleeps. Listen to this, and remember what I'm about to say. Power resides, lives where it is believed in. Power resides, lives where it is believed in. Did you see how Libyan President Gaddafi was slapped, kicked, and beaten once belief in his power was destroyed? Regular citizens drug him through the streets. Mussolini, a brutal dictator, was hung upside down in the middle of town and beaten. And everyone has seen the footage of Saddam Hussein, the ex-president of Iraq, when he became powerless and was discovered hiding in a hole. They lynched him on TV. One of the key components of what the white man's brutality represented was fear of him. That's the main component, and it still is, fear. Without it, there could be no control. There could be no colonialization. There could be no enslavement. Understand that before, when black men, brown men, red and yellow men had established trade among themselves for centuries, none of them had ever seen a white man before. All of these nations were like, what the hell is this? He's pale, funky, with stringy hair like an animal, and yet some of us still want hair like that, and we want it blonde. We need work. Understand that white people, Europeans, are less than 10% of the world population. So explain to me how a percentage so small can control 90% of the world. How is that possible? A simple answer is fear, and convincing the 90% that they are God's sons and his chosen people. Actually, the method that they came up with and used was a stroke of genius. Stealing our birthright, our history, rewriting it as their own, burning all the books, murdering all the people that know the truth, raid Cordova, Cairo, Seville, Egypt, and the other cities of learning, and burn them to the ground. Then enslave us in every way to ensure that the truth is never known and that is forgotten. So much so that when we hear that the people of the Bible are us, that we are the children of Israel, we don't believe it. Malcolm X and so many others came with the truth and the proof, and yet only a small pocket of us even bother to listen. To enact a story, to create a story, is to live so as to make it come true. So we have whites living the lie of being the authors of religion, the chosen people, and we, as we know it today, they are the image of the godly in their minds, along with billions of others across the globe that they have infected with this lie. Our nation, on the other hand, believe this country belongs to whites because they took it. The people they enslaved from the motherland were theirs because they took them. Japan, China, South America, Australia, India, Vietnam, Colombia, Cambodia, all belong to them and their people because they took it. This is the story they have enacted for themselves. Mine, mine, mine. Our nation, on the other hand, has enacted the story of living from hand to mouth just to get by. They have taken on the nigger persona that was created and given to them by the white man. So much so that, like I said, they call themselves by this offensive name, a name that we once gave a violent response to if it was directed towards us. And yet now, the nigger lives it. They have enacted it to make it true. The nigger has its own style, its own language. It walks and talks a certain way. It lives in a typical rundown section of town. It drinks 40 ounces, smokes weed all day, and never leaves home without a gun. It has no interest in a job. It's poorly educated, poorly dressed. It has no dental or medical care. It walks around with its pants pulled down, showing off its butt cheeks. Its most prized possession is its car, if it can afford one, not its woman, nor the children she has given it. The nigger lives the life of the nigger. It was fostered in the image of a nigger, brought out and created from the minds of the people that gave it its name. The white man have made it a reality for the nigger. And the nigger is yet to realize that he has been played, that he is really Dr. Frankenstein's monster. In his own communities, the nigger is the vampire, sucking blood and the life out of it. In his own communities, the nigger is the werewolf, deceptive. One thing during the day and yet another at night. The question is, how do we find our true self? But before we can actually find self, we first must be willing to look. At some point, we have to take an honest look at ourselves and ask, is this it? Is this all I am in the world? Eat, sleep, work, fuck, sit around. Is that all life holds for me? And if so, then you have wasted your life and its potential, because every one of us comes into this world with a purpose, something we are sent to do. So why hasn't it been done? I'm sure everyone is aware of the cliche, pressure, buzz, pipes. That is true. And those that understand the science behind this have utilized it to keep our nation unfocused, unthinking, unknowing, and constantly under pressure. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said, seek and you shall find. This is the counterbalance. And yet, when is it the last time that you read a book? No one can make you smart. No one can make you knowing. At some point, you have to pull out the roadmap to yourself and begin your journey. It would be a shame and a waste of life to die just like you came into it, not knowing and helpless. Knowledge is power. The only people that don't understand this is the people that don't have power. This is the double cross. Assalamu alaikum.